everybody. There are a few things I want to talk about today. I know I probably should be doing a top 10 list like I always do, but no. I have a few things I want to talk about today. So, there's one thing I want to talk about today that I might as well just go ahead and discuss throughout the rest of the video because I doubt any of you care about everything else I have to say. The movie rating system, or most shortly, the MPAA. The MPAA has been criticized at times for its ratings being weirdly compared. Like, some people complain that a movie is rated PG despite another movie being rated PG. Like, let's say, for example, you notice that Jaws is rated PG, but you look at now and also notice that Inside Out is rated PG too. So, what's well up with that? I don't know. But, one thing for sure, I feel like there's something wrong with this MPA system myself. And I'm going to discuss it today. Well, not really. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to talk about how the MPAA should work. Now, I may be a little low on the system and overall how its company goes, but I think there's a way we can make this rating system actually make sense. So we don't have to compare so much in dumb ways. We can, go with this one little sense of logic and have every movie that came out ever to go with it. Despite what the ratings were back then, now I think it's fair to say that this is how I think the rating system should work. Now, let's first go all the way back into the first rating that we have now. That being the rating of G. G means all ages approved. But that basically now means a movie that's just barely anything that exciting. It's just something that you have to make very childish and friendly so it doesn't come off as something bad. Then we go from G, we transform our way to PG, which means parental guidance suggested. Nowadays people are just like, no, we can go either way. Then we go to PG-13, meaning people my age. As we then reach to R, people over my age. And a rating that's barely used at all as well, NC-17. So those are the 5 rating for movies. Let's go ahead and see how we can adjust that, We're going to try and organize it so it can make sense. How about we use the terms of how much of this can be used? There are 5 rules of idea that a movie has to go with the rating and to go with the target audience. There's the amount of nudity or sex you have, the violence you would have, profanity, the amount of drug or alcohol referencing, and the intensity your movie would have. Those are 5 rating parts to a movie to see if your kid would want to see it or if someone else wants to see it or whoever age could see it. But let's go ahead and back that up to, back up to what we could get, We're going to try and see if we can get farther there. Let's go all the way to G. So G, like I said, means all age approved. How about we take all of those, a movie's amount of sex or violence or profanity or alcohol or drug reactions or intensity. We have that part be cut to a low, completely low, like beyond small. Keyword, very little. G could mean very little amounts of those 5 depictions. So yeah, G can go with the term of being, this movie's rated G for having so little of all that it's like barely at all. Meaning there might not be any of it. You just keep it at the level to where there's lower than small. Like, what's lower than small, you may ask? Like, let's say, no more than 1, basically. Okay, in fact, just like only 5 terms so short of those amounts. So, that means G, a movie, could mean that when a movie's rated G, it should mean that there is so little of the 5 rule terms. But now let's get to a PG movie. Let's see what PG means. So PG means parental guidance suggested, despite more kids' movies getting that rating. Since we're on through so little, how about we reach it up into a higher amount, just a little bit higher. Small. You know? Small amounts of small amounts of those 5 terms. Because when I said very little is lower than small, now we are at small. PG would mean there are small amounts of, those work terms. Now, what about, with that said, now we're going to go ahead and reach all the way to the next rating, PG-13. The rating that, like I said, is mainly just for people my age type. PG-13 means, people under 13 might not find it appropriate to watch and probably shouldn't watch. But that is true. So let's go ahead and keep it medium. PG-13 means medium amounts of those 5 elements. So, yeah, PG-13, a movie with medium amounts of those 5 elements, I'll say them again if you forgot. Sex or nudity, violence or gore, profanity, alcohol or drug reactions, and intensity. Those 5 elements have medium amounts in a PG-13 movie. And now, let's go to large. Large, the kind of food I'm ready to get at lunch time when I'm going somewhere. I'm always asking for a medium, like time to get a large somehow. Large is what R is, because there's an R in large, right? I'm so sorry. R means there are large amounts of those 5 elements. Very large amounts. Just large amounts, And with the NC-17 rating that's barely used, that could just mean, extra large. Some places do you get extra large, that's over large. That's what NC-17 means, extra large. So let's go ahead and back it up and see what we got. My opinion on what the rating should mean. Did I say bean? What's wrong with me? Here's what the rating should mean. G means so little amounts of these 5 elements. I'm not going to explain them again, it's too much. PG means small amounts of those elements. PG-13 means medium amounts of those elements. R means large amount of those elements. And NC-17 means extra large amounts of those elements. That's simple. That's just what it should be, Because that's kind of makes sense as it goes with the 5 ratings, and it's pasted better. It pastes better when it comes to who's watching this movie. Now, I know what you're thinking. Is that it? Does that mean the video's over already? That was fast, don't you think? Well, actually, I do have something else I want to talk about. Now, I'm going to go ahead and talk about my opinion on how those 5 elements should work. Because they seem to get mixed up sometimes. Like, first things first, the nudity parts. What can your nudity be for? What's that about? You see, the history and elements, I'll admit, I think the nudity rules that we get now make sense. Have boys and girls be separated when they're fully naked, at least except for, not gonna go with it, no, it feels weird talking about it. All I'm saying is that for your G-rated movie, you should have your nudity levels be at an amount where you don't actually see any bad parts. The bad parts being the, or any part that has always been considered inappropriate can count. Because there are inappropriate moments that have always been inappropriate. And with that said, for your G movie, just don't show any of that. You can maybe, have a reference for it, but don't actually show it. Just keep it at a where you don't see it, and it won't affect you in any bad way. Or what about violence and gore? What could that go to? Well, the violence and gore parts are something very interesting, You bleed a lot. That's what it's. Now, bleeding is normal. But if you want your movie to not dramatize, then keep the bleeding at a very small limit. Like just a cut, not like a, or any other type of goriness that could involve actual falling body parts or any other death note. Stuff like that, you gotta keep at an amount where it's not gonna traumatize us in a way. Because when your movie's G, you gotta make sure the blood nor any of the actual violence that happens isn't traumatizing. And you know how to do that. You know how to make sure it's not traumatizing. You just gotta keep it at a minimum level to make sure it doesn't traumatize in any way. As you gotta keep it to where it's just like a cut kind of gore, or just like a back shot kind of gore, not like a close up shot where you can exactly see the gore or the violence that is being shown. That's what it means. Profanity wise, profanity has always been used in many ways, but the one kind of profanity you can use in your G movie is the kind that isn't actually offensive, the kind that's said anywhere, you know? My channel, I have did profanity a lot, I'll admit, but, I mean, you're not mad at me for it, right? You all accept my apology for cursing, right? I might be in trouble, but... Anyway, for your G-rated movie, just make sure the profanity that is used is the good kind of profanity. The kind of profanity that can be used. Like, you know, like, gosh it, or darn it, or heck it, or, you know, anything that's not those kind of words that are not meant to be used. That's always been known. Okay? And now that's just what needs to be done. You gotta make sure the profanity in your G movie is the good kind of profanity and not the bad kind. Regardless, our next topic, alcohol and tobacco, or any kind of drug use. Now, actually, this might be a controversial opinion. I kind of can go either way. You know what? Sure, why not? Might as well go ahead and just have at least one moment of drinking or smoking. Just one moment of one of those two. Or like one moment per those two. Because even though you may think that kids shouldn't go with that, it's not really something kids would like to do anyway, don't you think? I mean, drinking is something that is wrong, but I don't really know if kids would enjoy it. Because if you just have at least one moment of drinking and one moment of drug use, and just have them sort of not be part of the actual story in your G movie, it wouldn't be bad. If you have more moments of drug use or alcohol use, and some of it does have to do with the story, then that is kind of when you know your kid doesn't really need to see it. So as long as your drug use or alcohol use doesn't have any term with the story, then it's perfectly fine. You know? And last but not least, intensity. Okay, now this actually has a lot of limits I want to talk about. Like, first off, the intensity means, you know, how much rudeness is there, how much hatred is being done. That's something I want to talk about. Come on. Do we really need to worry about it that much? I'm not saying that hatred is good. I'm just saying that it has to be something. We have to accept that there is going to be hatred in this world. There has to be hatred in this world, or else this world isn't going to work. The world should not be filled with hatred, but it needs to at least have it in some way. So when you're making your G-rated movie, the intensity of how much hatred there is, or I don't know how much things that can be considered wrong there are, make sure they actually are considered wrong for the young viewers to watch. Make sure that young viewers actually know that it's wrong. Because make sure that you can have your movie have the kind of hatred or, I don't know, wrong stuff in it. Just make sure that it's something that's actually wrong to them. Because I think it's better you gotta check and see what the kid would need to watch that is perfectly right for their age. Because if you just instantly assume, you're not gonna get something right. You gotta actually know what the intensity that your kid is willing to watch. You gotta make sure that you actually know what the kid needs to watch. You can't just assume. You gotta know. That's the whole point of your business. You have to know stuff. You can't just assume stuff. That's not creating things. That's kind of why there's many problems happening. In fact, that's kind of the reason why we have this whole nonsense crap I swear I don't like bringing up. But yeah, actually make sure the kid know what's wrong. Make sure that you know what the kid would think is wrong and what the kid would think is too intense for them. Keep that in mind. And so yeah, that being said, let's go over the ground rules for a G movie. sex and nudity. Just don't have it to where any of nudity or that is being shown. Just at least have it. Just don't show it or make it seem obvious. Violence and gore, again, make sure it's at a very minimal amount where it's just one little cut or a little back shot, not a big close-up shot or actual big gore. Profanity, only use profanity that's not actually offensive words. Use the kind of profanity that takes up for the inoffensiveness. Like, use the kind of profanity that's not offensive. That's the good kind. Alcohol and tobacco or any kind of drug use, just have at least one of each that doesn't work with the story. Include it so that it doesn't actually interfere with the actual story. Just have it in somewhere that isn't actually part of the actual story, so it's harder to remember or think about. And the intensity, again, you gotta know what the kid thinks. I talk too a lot. Make sure the kid knows what's too intense for them. Don't assume what you think is wrong for them to watch. Actually know. Okay, that's for the G. Now, what about for the other ratings? When you reach PG, it just goes, at a bigger weight. So if you understand what the rating system means for G-rated movies, what you understand is necessary, then just keep it at that. And when you know how much of all those elements you need for the G movie, then you'll know how it goes for the ratings go on. So, in conclusion, I just want to tell you all that there is something that we gotta think about better. We have to understand what is right and what is wrong. We shouldn't assume anything. And it's not just for film ratings, for what the kids would watch. It's for what all the audiences would watch. Because there have been moments that have caused controversy for a reason unnecessary. So we need to understand that people need to actually know what's right and what's wrong, and don't assume. Get the details, and then you can have the movie you were ready to have. Don't just assume everything. Know everything that you need to have. Know what your movie needs or what anything else needs. And just, keep a good note. And for anything else, and regardless, hatred or something like that is something that can still be possible. But just at least understand not to keep it in pants. We gotta try and prevent any crazy tragedy to happen. We can't prevent hatred to stop. We can't cause the world to have 100% peace. We just need to try to prevent tragedies from happening. And there are ways we can do that outside of trying to make the world 100% nice. So with that being said, the ratings that I talked about, my personal opinion, think they're right. I mean, I probably am making too much. I think I'm talking too much about my opinions. But I'm just saying, there are ways we can know things are right and what are wrong. That's just the moral for this video. That's something all G movies need to have and know we're higher, okay? That's cool. My moral is, we shouldn't always assume. Assuming isn't helping. Knowing is what is necessary. So we gotta know what is right and what is wrong. We gotta know what we're dealing with and know how to prevent it rather than assume. It's always good to know rather than assume something when it comes to the overall world. So that's my opinion on what the film ratings should be like. If you hate my opinion, if you think this video sucks, then leave a dislike because I'll accept it. If you actually did enjoy the video just because you want to be nice because I'm not on Facebook and people would be too nice to me on Facebook, then leave a like. Maybe even comment if you feel like it. Now I guess I better get a top 10 ready because you all are really upset I didn't make one today.